This is the Final Word Daily World Test Championship Day 2 from the Oval. Jeff Lemon and Adam Collins in the bright London sunshine. The show brought to you by Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. More extra, less ordinary.
Hell yeah.
That's what they're all about. And Adam, what you're about is telling people about an entire day of Test cricket. 7 hours or so of Test cricket condensed into the space of 30 seconds.
Steve Smith faced 2 balls in the first over. Both went for 4, meaning he brought up his 31st Test century on the same Grand Prix race his first 10 years ago. 9th against India, 7th in England. Gets out for 121, chopping on Thakur. By that stage, head's already been and gone for 163 of the best. Australia had 142 runs today. They lost their last 7 wickets by just after lunch, I think it was from memory. India lose wickets either side of tee. They were 4 for not enough. Jadeja joined Rahane, they put on 71. Jadeja out late, 2 of the wickets left bowled leaving, Pujara and Gill. Kohli gets a snorter from Stark, who was profligate thereafter. And they are going to bed tonight at 151 for 5, which means that they are 318 behind, and I can stumble over my words some more after I throw back to you.
Oh, goodness me. I think you did a passable job there. There was a lot going on. They're in strife. They're in bubble, toil and trouble, the Indian Test cricket team in this situation.
Yep.
I mean, it looked like a lot. Like Australia's innings, they didn't nail it towards the end. It wasn't ruthless. They tried to score quickly. The tail didn't make heaps. Alex Carey made 48, and that was the key contribution there. And you could have looked at it if you wanted to be somebody who's a hindsight sort of observer of Test cricket. I heard a lot of people yesterday when Smith and Head were putting on runs saying, "Oh, the pitch has gone flat. Oh, it's gone flat." Just because someone's scoring runs does not mean the pitch is flat. Just as if a team is bowled out cheaply does not mean the pitch is unplayable. Like it's reverse engineering what you think of the game based on what's happening. It wasn't easy to bat yesterday. They got through the difficult bits and scored off the poor bowling. That's how you bat in Test cricket. And what happened today was, okay, they get to that 460 sort of figure, and you think, well, that you could say, well, they should have made 600, but that's probably going to be enough, given that there is still enough life in this pitch if you bowl well, and you can pretty reliably expect Pat Cummins and company to bowl well.
So they lost 7 for 142 today in 36.3 overs. Yesterday's pitch rating, according to CricViz, it was 8 out of 10. The difficulty factor, they fold into all of the different pitch mapping and so on. 8 out of 10 before lunch, 4 out of 10 after lunch and after tea. So it wasn't nothing.
More difficult and 4 less
Yeah,
difficult?
that's right. So it just bolstered what we were saying yesterday. It looked a different Test match when the sun came out.
Sure.
It's one of those things, right? So it wasn't that it was easy to bat yesterday. They made it look easy. And I think this is kind of how Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes have set the England team up. What you do when you bat aggressively in tricky conditions is that you, in all probability, if it's going well, create a situation where you'll have more poor balls bowled at you, which you can therefore put away, right? Like cricket's not just played, a lot of it's played above the shoulders, and if you can put pressure back on a bowler, you are increasing the chance they'll lose their rhythm, lose their line and length, and give you more balls to put away, per what Travis Head did so well yesterday and at times this morning as well. So that's kind of the story of the pitch, I think. It wasn't that it was ever unplayable outside of about an hour at the start when it was really tricky.
Sure.
And again, with the new ball, we saw Australia go around a bit at the start. They took their first wicket when the score was on 30. Jared Kimber's got an interesting theory about this around the Duke's ball, how it doesn't actually move an awful lot until it loses its lacquer, which is why Mitchell Stark isn't as effective with the brand spanking new ball with the Dukes compared to the Kookaburra, which roughs up just a tiny bit earlier.
So you're saying Scott Boland should take the new ball, Mitchell Stark first change?
Maybe Scott Boland, the considerable movement that he's getting as it is at first change is working just fine. I mean, Scott Boland's never had to take the new ball, and we'll come to him later in that wonder delivery that he sent down to get rid of Gill before tea. But yeah, I share your view. It was a perfectly acceptable result, making 469 from where they were overnight, 3 for 327, even if, they probably, on a great day, might have ended up 500 plus. But India is still 318 behind, and that is down to the fact that they've bowled some outstanding individual deliveries. I don't think Australia have bowled the house down, by the way. I think they've bowled some really great balls, and on a surface that's got a bit in it, and with a Duke's ball and the pressure of a world final and all the rest of it, you are likely to create opportunities, and so they have, and they've taken them as well.
And having been in the field for 5 sessions doesn't help, by the time things turn over. And again, you can, if you're looking through the Indian dismissals, you can reverse engineer why you think that happened as well. I'm sure, I haven't looked, but I'm sure there are people saying Shubman Gill got bowled leaving that ball because he was playing IPL and so he wasn't in the groove of Test cricket. Okay, well then Cheteshwar Pujara comes in and gets bowled leaving a ball, and he's been playing county cricket
And
for about
dominating.
15 years.
Well, I love, again, I'm going back to CricViz again, but they've been doing some great work here, so why not? They've got a measure of how likely a ball is to get you out. Again, all things being equal, all the data they have in their set, 33% probability of taking a wicket, the bowl and ball to Gill, and 28% the ball from green to Pujara. So these are two absolute seeds. And the fact that they left them alone on the basis of line is not the wrong thing to do inherently. It reflects the fact that they've bowled two stonking balls, and that's kind of the game. I've seen that whinging on Twitter as well from Indian fans who are stuck in. I'm like, just kind of like accept it for what it is. Kohli's dismissal as well. He gets a brute, a snorter from Stark that comes off the shoulder of the bat, and Steve Smith takes a blinder above his shoulders. Higher than that, Superman effort at second slip. Again, that's kind of the game, right? You can be outplayed by someone in an instant.
Something can happen that you have very little recourse for.
Exactly.
The Gill one, it bowls him. It doesn't bowl him middle stump, but it's the inside of off stump onto middle. That's how far back it comes.
A bloody mile.
It seemed so far, and it was entirely reasonable to think, well, that's not going to seem, a foot back at me and hit the stump.
Imagine he plays at that. Let's go another world, right? Where Gill and Pujara play at both of those balls on the 5th, 6th stump line,
and nick 'em.
And both of them hold their line, and they get taken by the man at first slip. We're having a conversation about how lazy they are for not letting them go.
Absolute morons.
You know what I mean?
These idiots. Why are they playing? You don't need to play at that ball. You know you don't need to. What happened to leaving the ball alone? What happened to shouldering arms? What happened to... Len Hutton wouldn't have played at that ball. Oh, God. It's so tiresome at times.
It is a little bit.
But we should be trying to emphasise the enjoyment of the good play that we saw. I mean, the Stark ball is like... It's obviously the best ball that he bowled that day. He didn't bowl terrifically well, but that's what he's able to do, is produce something like that. I mean, Kohli, as he's done for the last few years, looked in good touch, and then he's just coming forward to defend. He's like, oh, okay, this is a relatively standard length. I'm going to defend this, and it just climbed at him, like it went up the grapevine at him, and he had no choice. All he could do was try to get the glove in front of his face so he didn't get whacked in the melon. And away it flies into the corner. It
actually reminded me a little bit of the World Test Championship final 2 years ago, where India put in all the spade work and all of their players looked good. They just kept getting out to good balls. So Rohit, 15, 26 balls. Gill, 13, 15 balls. Pujara, 14, 25 balls. Kohli, 14, 31 balls. And Jadeja, 48 from 51. My point there is they all were getting themselves in, weren't they? They weren't getting out after 5 or 6 deliveries, or the way Khawaja did yesterday, having only got bat on ball a couple of times. They were kind of looking okay, better than okay, in the case of Rohit and Gill at the start. As I mentioned before, first wicket falling in the 6 over at 30. They got off to a bit of a flyer.
And Cummins with that ball decking in as well.
Probably the first ball hitting the stumps.
Yeah,
maybe.
Quite possibly. And Rohit sort of just overbalancing, I guess, towards the offside, and that can happen as it comes in. But it was pretty much as plumb as you get. I was chatting to a listener of the show who looked at that and said, that's Wally Grout, in reference to something that we were covering on Storytime a couple of weeks ago.
That's good. That's good fan engagement right there.
Good to know that people were paying attention.
Listening to Storytime as well. Eating their vegetables, not just having the dessert that is the Daily Show rather, where we do the 20-minute hit. You get your nutrients from the weekend show too.
That's it. You've got to know things about the past in order to understand my jokes about Len Hutton. This is the kind of topical gear that we're working with on the Final Word Daily. Look, and the Cameron Green one you spoke about, and then Nathan Lyon, the way he sets up Jadeja.
Good.
I mean, I loved the battle thing going on. It was captain versus captain at the top, and then it's spinner versus spinner. And, that sets him up, drawing him forward, and then getting that one to slide across the left-hander. And he didn't think he'd hit it, Jadeja. He wasn't at all convinced that he'd even nicked
the edge. I mean, it was the way that, you're right. He brought him forward, and
Jadeja
in the first over line bowl was trying to get down the track enough to take short leg out of play.
Yep.
And that ball line just brought back, it was a story of length. He brought it back just a smidgen, which meant Jadeja didn't come as far out of his crease, but was still lunging at it. And Smith rarely makes a mistake at first slip. And Jadeja stood there like Shane Watson for about 10 seconds afterwards, like, how's that possible that I've gotten out? But it was fine piece of bowling. Rohit, Cummins, 50th Test matches, captains both playing their 50th this week. I thought that was nice as well. So there was plenty there. I just want to go back to the Aussie batting innings for a moment. So Travis Head is out for 163, a 285 run stand with Smith, which is the foundation from all of this growing for Australia.
Sure.
The foundation from which all of this grows for Australia. this week. He only faced 174 balls for that, a stunning innings. And Steve Smith, first 2 balls of the day. It just took Siraj a while to get into his work. He actually bowled a pretty good spell, but 2 balls on the pad, both clipped away. So he moves from 95 to 103 in 2 deliveries in the first over.
Yeah.
His 3rd century.
It was striking, wasn't it, after yesterday as well, where he was going.
Well, 3 falls in a row, right?
Strike rate of 30 for most of that. Yeah,
his last ball last night.
Cover drive
Smith
last
couldn't
ball
have gone through the 90s as quick as that in Test cricket. Even if his first century here, which you were here for, Jeff, in 13, he hit Jonathan Trott into the members for 6 to get there for the first time. So
he remembers less about the 90s than Jason Donovan.
I said yesterday that Travis had moved through the 80s quicker than Ian Botham. I'm not sure if that landed, that joke, but anyway, I don't know. But yeah, so Smith getting to 100 31 times. I like that full circle thing. 10 years, 30 tons between times, and 3rd one here at the Oval, made another one in 2015, 7th in England, loves batting in these conditions, 9th against India, who for the longest time he had a batting average in the 80s against, a big sample size. So, it's ominous for England that he's rocked up here, had a month of batting with Sussex, didn't make huge scores, but being in these conditions. And you can, if you want, draw a contrast to Cameron Green, who hit a boundary first ball down to 3rd man, then played a booming drive and caught an edge to a ball that, again, we were kind of using that comparison between balls you leave and balls you play. That's probably a ball you leave most of the time when you're getting yourself in. Caught in the cordon, good snaffle, and it meant that Australia kind of needed Alex Carey, and he and Cummins put on 51 at I say needed, like they were already well ahead of the game, but just to make sure they get well above 400.
Press home the advantage, I
that's
suppose,
right.
at that point.
And Carey made most of those, and Cummins did his job.
Yeah, and Carey, did what he needed to do up until the spinner came on, where he just reverted to I'm in India kind of situation.
He's been out to the reverse sweep 4 times this year at an average of 6.5.
Oh, there you go. That should probably be the Hall of Fame kind of material. But on Smith and the numbers, that's another little interesting bit there. So, top of my head, 31, Steve Waugh's 32 centuries, and Ponting's 41, and they're the only Australians ahead of him. So, one more, assuming he's going to get at least another one, he'll level up with Steve Waugh.
And on runs today, he passed Inzamam Al-Haq, Javed Miandad and Graham Gooch. Well, if he's past Gooch, he must be close to 9,000, because Gooch made 8,900 on the dot.
Well, if you get past the Gooch, you're going somewhere interesting. That's
one way or the other.
Definitely something that you can't argue with. Now, another little note, because I was looking up who has made the most hundreds in a country that they're not from.
I've got a feeling I know who's number 1.
Well, yeah, obviously Braddles the Duck with his 1100s in England. Jack Hobbs made 9 in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody else has made more than 7 anywhere else.
So Hammond 7 in Australia?
Hammond 7 in Australia. So Smith has 7 in England already, and he's got 5 test matches ahead of him.
Yeah.
So he could be sort of, at least bronze on the podium behind those 2 who played all of their cricket against each other, basically, or against that other team.
I wonder where they
toured so many times.
Yeah, I wonder where he can get to by the end of the summer. Well, without forecasting too far ahead, but if he has a series comparable to 15 or 19, he'll be mid 9,000s, and he'll have 34 Test hundreds.
Yeah, which
in all probability.
And there's a stack of high-ranking players who've got 34. There's Gavaskar there, Brian Lara's there, I think Joe Wardener might be there. Sangakkara's 38.
38. Okay.
Yeah. He's the behind Callis and Ponting.
Before we go to Hall of Fame stuff, just on Australia's bowling, I think it's worth going through quickly. Stark, just for whatever reason, just didn't look like it at all today, with the exception of that ball to Kohli. His line and length was all wrong at the start, and his subsequent spells went around. I think he had 14 taken from an over late in the day, mainly by Jadeja. Cummins 1 for 36 from 9. Tried the bowl in that channel with the wobble seam and looked good early on, but had some runs taken from him late. Scotty Boland 1 for 29 from 11. Born to bowl in England. I mean, in much the same way that we've talked about Michael Neser and the swing, the same applies on surfaces like this for Boland, who's super consistent. And Cameron Green 1 for 22 from 7 wicket early on. That ball I mentioned already to Bajara, that was a beauty, and Nathan Lyon picks up a wicket in his 2 overs. So they've all contributed already with half of the side to go.
This is the time for the Final Word Hall of Fame. The Final Word Hall of Fame is the bit of the show where we think about what was the most final word moment of the day. It's brought to you by Westfield, which interestingly is also in the east, depending where you're standing. It's not called Eastfield, but it is Westfield, depending if it's Westfield.
Well, there's
London,
one in the east and one on the... Well, there's
Stratford
Stratford City's in the east, and Shepherd's Bush, the London one, it's called Westfield London, is in the west. And I've been doing I've been flirting online overnight. So Copper Chimney, which is a Mumbai icon, been in operation for 50 years. They've got a beautiful cocktail menu. They have heard one of our podcasts, and they were in my DMs. and they said they can't wait to host us.
Oh.
And I can't bloody wait for them to host us
Okay.
personally. So we're going to be down there maybe after this test match.
Yep.
Maybe we'll go down there and visit.
On the night of your wedding, we'll be steaming into Copper Chimney with 60 people following
Or
us.
maybe to Binda, some modern take on Indian classic street food. Then we can go to Putt Shack to putt some balls. You don't like golf, but I don't mind it. All-Star Lanes, maybe you can do some bumper bowling. I can imagine you doing some bumper bowling. Or the Roller Boogie Palace, Flippers Roller Boogie Palace. That's all available to us. Westfield.co.uk/United Kingdom/London to see everywhere you can eat, shop or play at Europe's largest shopping centre. That's some claim to fame. London, Westfield, Stratford City, Westfield, getting it the wrong way around.
There we go.
More extra, less ordinary. That's all very attractive to me.
Right, so Hall of Fame, I think Alex Carey does deserve a nom for being box before wicket reverse sweeping, having just hit a 6. I mean, what was it like? Was it single from the first ball, gets on strike, punts one into the stand over deep mid-wicket and goes, I think I might get the reverse out to Jadeja, the guy I kept getting out to playing the reverse when we were in India. And, you know, in no time at all, he is junk before wicket.
Yeah, drop catch, 6 wicket in 3 balls, and it was hitting middle bang on. It was also hitting middle bang on. So that was Carey. I've got a few nominations. The sequencing thing got me all quite in the special spots today. So the first 4 wickets for India, 15, 13, 14, 14. I'm like, here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. Now, I'm not sure exactly what the stat is, but I pinged it over the Zoltz, who read
Yep.
something out on TMS about it's the only time that's happened in Test cricket. I'm not sure what the caveat is, because of course you would have had, in a span of 4, no, make that 2, 13 to 15, 4 wickets fall before when the scorecard reads 0, 1, 3, 2 or something,
Sure.
but maybe not that high. Then Rahane is given out leg before wicket. We didn't mention this in the review, remembering that Rahane back into the side. He's 29 not out from 71, putting in a great shift. More power to him. He's overnight with KS Bratt, who's on 5. But Rahane's given out leg before. I've got it written down here. 4-17. He would have added to the sequence, or not quite sequence, but it would have been 15, 13, 14, 14, 17 had Pat Cummins kept his boot behind the line.
Wow.
So frustration for me on that front.
Okay, the heel was over the line. You were keen for the... It's like a number for roof seal or something. Call 15, 13, 14, 14, 17.
Call 13, 13, 32.
Yeah, we've done the Ludmobile before, believe you
We'll
me.
do it again.
We'll do it again. What else? Hall of Fame.
You see the Australian A guy?
No.
So when Kohli gets out, everyone's going nuts about the wicket. I immediately tweeted, said, forget about the wicket. When everyone was celebrating, there's a guy wearing a 1994-95 Australia A-top going nuts in the stand.
Someone buy it off him.
Find me this man and I'll give him lots of money to take his shirt off him. I'm not kidding. If you know this guy, the guy that was featured when Kohli was dismissed, please get in touch and I'll offer him a sum of money for it. Last but not least, speaking of clothing, the Australians have different approaches to their cricket jumpers.
Yep.
This was noted on social media today. A few conversations were taking place. Alex Carey likes it tight, fitting. Steve Smith likes to wear it down towards his knees, like Darren Jarman in the 97 grand final. You've got one of them on as well. Out of the gift bag from the ICC, we've got these glorious long sleeve cricket jumpers. I haven't got one yet, although I'm working on it because I'm technically not written press for this event. But you have that feels and looks the part.
Well, it does feel the part, and it's one of the things when you cover ICC events, they try to bribe you, they try to buy your silence by giving you free stuff. They're like, here's a little wireless mobile phone charger maybe, or it used to be a USB drive.
The backpack everyone still uses 4 years later after the 19 Men's World Cup.
Yep.
If they just give us that backpack again in India later in the year, I'll be a happy boy.
Yep. So, but they've gone a step above. Which, you know, and I've been a bit light on for jumpers. It's been pretty cold over here because I thought I'm going to summer, it'll be fine, foolishly. And so this may be required over the next couple of weeks anyway. But you're not going to buy my silence. Aramco sucks.
The other part of this, where you're on the same row in the press box as Mike Atherton, and I sort of leant over to Atherton and said, did you get one of them too? And he kind of looked back at me politely, but he goes, no. I declined. He doesn't need another cricket jumper, Athers. He's got plenty. He's sorted for Ian Wiz.
Yeah. He's probably, he either has a massive cupboard just full of cricket jumpers, or he's thrown them all away just in some sort of spiritual cleansing
Nathan
kind
Horrocks
of situation.
style. Remember when Nathan Horrocks sold all his kit?
Yeah, I think that was probably a more unhappy sort of situation than the one that I'm picturing, where I reckon, you know, Michael Atherton's the sort of person who might have had dinner with Marie Kondo one night, something like that, and just got her to sort out the cricket jumper bit, you know, something like that.
After we walked away from Pakistan last year with a couple of PCB waistcoats. We're not averse to free shit, believe me, it's fun. This has been the Hall of Fames. Hall of Fames?
The Halls of Fame.
The Halls of Fame for Westfield, London, Westfield, Stratford City. Get yourself an Indian feed at the former, more extra, less ordinary. And that will also be the end of our show. 3:18 behind India, loads of work to do. Maybe even the follow-on might become a consideration if Australia wish to get their bowling out of the way early in this test match and not have as quick a turnaround for the quicks. Outside chance. I doubt it, but maybe. I will be here to cover it all on The Final Word. If you like what we do, patreon.com/The Final Word. We're making these every day, in addition to our weekly shows, our interview shows, and Storytime, our history program that goes out on the weekend.
All of the above.
Good night.
That's it. See you later.
Ta-da.